Hi, I'm Liam. I used to be a middle distance athletics coach, and now I'm using my coaching experience to rebuild my engine at 57. I'll be sharing my training sessions and their related data. To capture that data, I'll be using my Huawei Band 11 Pro, my Polar H10 transmitter, and my Footbar Meteor tracker, which is an accelerometer. To aid my proprioception and also to have some fun, I'll be also learning football skills. Whenever you're rebuilding or building anyone's engine, as well as knowing the physiological parameters, it's important to know their muscle fiber type. That's easy to find out. Think back to when you played football for your school football team. Ask yourself this one question. Were you the fastest in the team? If so, then you're a fast twitch fiber, sprint-based person. If you answered no, I was the slowest, then you're a slow twitch fiber person. And you probably find you naturally gravitated to 5K running, 10K, or the marathon. Maybe you take on the triathlon or high rocks. I know myself, and I'm a fast twitch fiber, sprint-based person. So to rebuild my engine, I devised a 3-speed protocol. Those speeds are walking, threshold interval running, and sprinting. With walking, I'm looking to improve my speed at 2 mmol of lactate. I do that with continuous work, and I quantify that by working below my MAF 180, which is taking 180 and subtracting your age, which for me means I shouldn't go above 123 beats per minute. To ensure I don't go past my first ventilatory threshold, I focus on nasal breathing. I'll be talking about this concept more deeply in next week's video. Threshold interval running is to improve my speed at 4 millimoles of lactate. The interval structure of this session allows me to run at faster than threshold pace, but the recovery and its method allows me to stay below 4 millimole, and therefore I get to push my threshold speed forward. My final speed is sprinting, and for me it is explosive running at the distances of 10 to 40 meters. For every 10 meters of work, I allow 1 minute of recovery. So if I'm doing a 30-meter sprint, I have 3 minutes worth of recovery after each interval. I also ensure that my sprinting and my threshold interval running are done on grass. Of the 3 speeds, for me the most important is the threshold intervals. This book by Marius Bakken explains that concept more deeply. Now that we know that walking improves 2 millimole speed, threshold interval running improves 4 millimole speed, that leaves us with maximum lactate. Well, sprinting over 30 meters with 3-minute recovery isn't going to cut the mustard. To elicit a maximum lactate production and a maximum heart rate, coaches create nasty sessions. You could race 5K, for instance, but in my case, I decided to create a specific session. A month after my 57th birthday, this session produced a maximum heart rate of 184 beats per minute, and I spent 12 minutes in an anaerobic state. After a warm-up, I took 2 cones 20 meters apart, and I ran from one cone to the next, turned around, collected a football, dribbled that, the same distance. That was 80 meters, and I did that 5 times, and it produced a heart rate of 166. After a short recovery, I now started the maximum stress test. That involved running the length of the football pitch, touching one goal post, running the length of the pitch and touching the other. After 2 runs with a short recovery of about a minute, I hit a heart rate of 175 beats per minute. After hitting 175, I knew I had another step to go, so I raised the intensity and did 2 more runs. I hit 183 and then finished with 184. If Jurgen Klopp had been screaming at me, I think I could have done another 1 or 2, but I called it a day at 184 beats per minute. In all sport that requires running, you need to develop running form ability. Running mechanics are broken down into rear side mechanics and front side mechanics. To develop my rear side mechanics, I'm using a hip flexor stretch. And for front side mechanics, I use high knee leg extension drill. It's also important to have an active foot strike rather than being a heel striker. This is the hip stretch mobility drill that I use for my rear side mechanics. I take a band, place my arms above my head to activate the core, and it's a high knee and a leg extension. High knee leg extension. You can also see I use these shoes only indoors. This is working the hamstrings in a specific manner that you're going to be using them for running. To develop the active foot strike, I'm bringing my foot back underneath my hips. Running is just like riding a bike. If you land with your foot ahead of you and you heel strike, you're effectively putting the brake on your running. This is how you develop an active foot strike. To improve my ground contact time at threshold interval running pace, and to prepare myself for sprinting, I do plyometrics, which we call the muscle tendon complex training. I'm going to be using a football, and I'm going to do toe taps, which is a standard ball mastery skill. That's plyometric. And then straight after that, I'm going to move into 3 squat jumps with my hands on my hips. To help my central nervous system recover from this jumping, I'm giving myself a 2-minute recovery, and I focus on nasal breathing whilst I'm sitting on a bench. Total contact time of this session is 39 contacts. When you're ever doing a plyometric session, the way you measure it is by contacts per session. I track all 3 sets with my Polar H10, and I've put my phone in front of a yoga block, and you will be able to hear as she says to me, I'm building fitness, and then during the recovery phase, as my heart rate is dropping, I'm now burning fat. I didn't use my wireless mic on this clip because I was scared of it dropping off, but I'll leave it with the raw camera data, and you'll be able to hear the ground contacts. The hissing underneath is actually my fan.
You are improving fitness. You are burning fat.
The Polar software doesn't have plyometrics, so I've logged it as strength training. So my 39 contacts and 2-minute recovery took 7 minutes 55 seconds to do. My max heart rate was 136 beats per minute with an average heart rate of 111. The beauty of videoing yourself is you get to see how high you jump. I took this still and put it into Gemini, and I asked it if it could work out how high I'd jump, bearing in mind I was next to a size 5 football. So I cleared 35 centimeters, and most importantly, I'm activating my fast twitch fibers and recruiting explosive power. Also, by landing, I'm working on my deceleration eccentric phase. The way I landed and didn't shuffle around and was able to just reactivate the next jump explains that deceleration skill. The most important component of training is the recovery. And you can see before I did the session on the plyos, my recovery was excellent. And the day after, it was still very good. I'm tracking my HRV using my Pole H10 and the Elite HRV app. So now you understand my 3-speed protocol. You'll be able to apply the concepts to you. I look forward to seeing you next week.